Hello and welcome back to the channel for a quick video of tactics today, and we are going to speak about detachment, infantry detachment in particular, and their good use in games. Recently I read a question about the real utility of detachment in games terms, and the question arose because this small unit are very frail and prone to enemy fire and especially enemy charge. But in my opinion and my experience of game, they are crucial in games terms and are very useful in many situations. And now we are moving to tell something about them and how to use properly and their best use on the game terms. They represent essentially the voltigeur or the light infantry sent forward between the two lines to harass the enemy, try to shut down some officer, snipe them down their horses or something like this. They were the best shooters of the battalion or the army. And in game terms, in other game, the skirmisher in front of the battalion are physically put out from their main battalion, such as in black powder, or represented by many bases of infantry, for example in General Vermeil. In Valor Fortitude, our skirmisher is simply a rule that allow battalion to shoot with less effect but longer range, and this will represent the men who move forward and shoot to the enemy and then fall back into their main battalion. And this detachment are small unit that, in my opinion, represent maybe not the part of one single battalion, but a combined force of voltigeur for the French, the company of riflemen for the British, the Jaeger for the Austrian, the Jaeger for the Russian, something like this, the light infantry for the Spanish, etc., etc. And their main role is essentially the role covered by the skirmisher of the battalion. So not the company of voltigeur that leave their main battalion, but unit such as tirailleur for the French again, or something else for the other country that specifically cover this role. Now, are they any good? Yes, in my opinion they are very, very good. They only have one downgrade, and is the fact they have just 2 of tenacity, and they are very, very frail in every situation in which they are the defender. Even if they defend a house or a woods or something defendable terrain, they roll 2 dice, basic, shoot less effective and roll 1 more die. If you consider them as a single unit in such way, if you consider them in open order, because they have light infantry as a rule, and so they can be set in open order, they lose their attack dice, and with 1 single die they're very, very prone to every melee they are involved in. But this, in my opinion, is the only weak point they have. This is probably the most practical and the most obvious role in games terms, screening the main battle line due to the rules of the close target, and put them in open formation, maybe slow a little bit your movement, because in open order they move just 9 inches rather than 12 if they are in column, or in any case they move at the same pace of the main line. But the big advantage is that enemy fire must target them first, and even planning the fire in such ways they must receive some of the fire, maybe artillery, maybe the first volley fire of the enemy when they are within 12 inches. In any case, they protect more or less your main unit. And remember that if you keep them in open order, they have their casualty, because they have light infantry rule. Surely you know that having light infantry, they have open order as skirmisher, so they can keep moving and shooting, and they can have open order to reduce casualty. But if you only use this voltigeur, your detachment in this way, you do not use all their potential, because sooner or later they will receive their 2 casualty and become pretty useless. They may be used, and maybe you won't use them more historically, such as a small company of infantry or riflemen, which move on the flank of the army, take a good position of fire and harass the enemy. Riflemen in this case are even better than the French counterpart, because their rifle allow them to shoot 18 inches, and so they can start to make some damage before the French, their opponents. And you can take close formation to move quickly and take a good position, as I said, and start to harass the enemy. Obviously you have to protect them, because they have the same downgrade of infantry in open order. If they are charged by something, they evaporate, so keep in mind this. The other use they have in mission where you have objective to control, you can use a small infantry detachment to grab the objective, to hold an objective, and let the rest of your brigades to move forward and take terrain, position, protect, etc. And they left a relatively cheap unit sit on the objectives. But again, it's not the best way to use them. They can control terrain, and practically, because the control of terrain became the spot that you measure for the fire, enlarge the range of the weapon, and this is another very good way to use them. These are essentially the way to use light infantry detachment. So in my opinion, even quite pricey. They cost, riflemen cost 16 point and 14 for the voltigeur and normal infantry detachment. In large game, they always repay themselves. They are very, very easy. Keep in mind that when they have received 1 or 2 casualty, or when you are close to the enemy, they may shoot with their skirmisher and have a retreat behind their main line. They have accomplished their mission to protect your main battle line when you are close to the enemy, and later on, when you finally unleash your infantry in assault, they can offer support moving closer to the melee remaining protect due to their small footprint and offer a precious dice in melee in support. Something like this, for example. Let me say they charge in and they move close to offer the brigade support. And even this is not an underestimate way to use them later in the game for this reason, or they simply can try to rally and then become useful again, move out and shoot again. They shoot quite well. They shoot 2 dice compared to 3 dice off a line, so their shooting power is not to be underestimated. Let me say that this is not the case for the cavalry detachment. Essentially, cavalry detachment can do the same, exactly the same thing, are faster because are cavalry, but with one of tenacity. They looks very too much frail, too much prone to whatever it may hit them. Just a single hit, and it's not impossible to make a single hit shaking them and make them useless, pretty useless. They are not good enough to charge in anything, while this unit here can go hand to hand with their counterpart, or make some flank charge into an artillery, or something that charging in the flank, even with their reduced melee capacity, can be beaten. A unit that are shaken, everything with this small footprint, they can more easily than a large battalion take a flank of something. The cavalry detachment do not allow this, in my opinion, and is a unit that I've tried but never trust them at all in the end, and I drop them, favoring the mounted infantry, using the rule for the dragoon of the 30 Years' War or the Italian Wars, and as I speak about in my previous tactic video, and I'm developing this idea, the mounted infantry in place of infantry detachment. When you dismount, you have a unit something like this, and when they are mounted, they are very fast. It's easy for them to screen your advancing, your cavalry, your artillery, your infantry. They have 2 of tenacity, so what I've speak about this is applicable to the cavalry, also to the cavalry, and so much better. I know that is a home rule, but in my opinion is a rule that Jervis and the Twin Perry may take into the account to put into the data sheets for the future. Let them pay, let's say, cavalry detachment 13-point carbine light cavalry, make them infantry, mounted infantry for the same point, or maybe something more. It's not a problem. Maybe even 16 point, 14 point. They worth the price. They cannot shoot mounted and cannot charge, so even if they are fast, it's not so dangerous to take in flank or other thing, but more useful on the battlefield, especially if you have a larger table where you play. And the last thing that I want to tell you, and I suggest you to try, is another home rule that I'm testing right now, and the idea has come when I read recently another game rule set, and so the possibility to make this infantry detachment to evade a charge. In the end, when charge the enemy come closer and possibility to be in charge, they return to the battalion. and I think of something like this, and I will try this rule here, and I want to tell you, and let me know what do you think about. Let me use my French line to show you here. When an infantry detachment being charged by an enemy on a roll of 3+, they can make a retreat movement, a retreat activation. So if they move back and terrain, other units, everything affect this movement. So if they are, for example, blocked by an enemy, a friendly unit not of the same brigade, they cannot interpenetrate them, okay? Or there is an impassable terrain of any kind, okay? They are affected in this way. I know that if they are in open order, they do not suffer too much terrain, but there are some kind of terrain that can affect it, but especially my idea was a friendly troop, but not of the same brigade. Anyway, they make their retreat, and the charging unit may divert their charge towards another unit if are in range and respect any rule for the charge, or simply if they cannot reach their target anymore because they move far away and there are no enemy troops, they can complete their movement or simply stop the charge on the spot. The last thing of the last part of the rule is if they retreat and for any reason they are reached by the enemy, they do not fight, automatically routed, and the brigadier must test for their destruction. And let me say this, come in mind one thing. There is another downgrade from this unit, and is that they are a small unit and can bring a quick fortitude test for your brigadier because it is easy to kill. In my opinion, rules are good enough, but maybe for who think that this a small unit are too frail, or it doesn't worth its point, try this home rule that make them quite bit longer the survivability, and maybe you will happy with them. And that's it. I hope my suggestion are good enough. Maybe you have not think all of this. I know that veteran player do not need my advice, but maybe some new player interested in the game can have some support for this. And that's it. Now, I want to show you a butt wrap, but upstairs here is the closest place to hell at the moment. It's too hot. There is a wave of heat came from Africa in Europe, and we are literally melt away. So having a long game upstairs is not a question at the moment. So I make this video for you, and I hope that the weather will change soon to show you my Portuguese brigade in battle in some kind of bat rap into the peninsula. Now, thank you for watching, and happy wargaming. Bye bye.